you both went quiet at the same time. And somewhere deep inside you, you already know that a silence like this means something. It isn't distance. It isn't the end. When two people who genuinely felt each other stop speaking at the same moment, 5 very specific things are already happening beneath the surface, and every single one of them matters more than you realize right now. Because here is what psychology shows us about mutual silence. It is never accidental. Two people do not go quiet at the same time by chance. The human mind, when it is genuinely connected with another person, does not simply switch off. It retreats inward, it protects itself, it waits. And the fact that you are both doing this at the same time, in the same window of life, is not a sign that it is over. It is a sign that what you felt was real enough to create stillness in both of you. Real enough to stop the ordinary flow of reaching out. They're real enough that neither of you can treat what existed between you casually, the way you would treat something that never actually touched your heart. You went quiet because the noise of pretending was too loud to maintain. The noise of acting as though this didn't matter, as though what was between you wasn't significant, was simply more than either of you could carry. And that is not weakness, that is honesty. That is the full weight of something that genuinely mattered landing exactly where it should. The first thing happening right now is that you are both protecting something deeply tender inside yourselves. Silence in a relationship that carried real emotional weight is almost never about indifference. Psychology consistently shows us that when two people who share genuine depth and real intimacy go quiet at the same time, they are almost always shielding the most vulnerable parts of who they are. The parts that got too close, the parts that opened up, that allowed someone in, and then felt the full exposure of that openness. You went quiet because speaking right now feels like reaching out with your heart visible, with no certainty that it will be received with the care it deserves. And what you may not fully see yet is that they went quiet for the very same reason. That they are also standing at the edge of something they don't know how to cross. They are also trying to hold what was real between you without losing themselves to the uncertainty of where it all goes next. That shared silence is not two people retreating from each other. It is two people standing at the edge of something enormous. Neither of them sure of the next step, but neither of them actually walking away. The second thing happening right now is that you are both still in the middle of emotional processing. And that kind of processing takes exactly the time it takes, and not a single moment less. When a connection runs as deep as this one did, the emotional residue it leaves behind does not clear overnight. It doesn't clear in a week. Beneath your silence right now, there is an entire interior world of feeling that you haven't yet found the words to describe. You replay moments that meant something. You feel things that don't have names yet. You write messages in your head that never make it to your phone. You almost reach out, and then something holds you back. Not because the feeling isn't there, but because you don't yet know how to carry everything you're holding into a single message that would do it justice. This is not confusion. This is not weakness. Psychology shows us that the most emotionally significant relationships require exactly this kind of silence for the heart and mind to integrate what happened, to understand what this person truly means to you and what you mean to them. The quiet isn't emptiness. It is the opposite of emptiness. Right now, the quiet is completely full. The third thing, and this one is important for you to sit with, is that the silence between you right now is louder than any conversation you could be having. Here is what research on emotional bonding consistently tells us. When two people share a connection that was genuinely felt and then fall into mutual silence, their emotional and mental presence with each other often intensifies rather than fading. It becomes more present, not less. You think about them when something happens, and your very first instinct is still to reach for your phone and tell them. You feel their absence in the spaces where their presence used to live. In the quiet of an ordinary morning, in the middle of a moment that should feel normal but somehow doesn't quite anymore. And at this very moment, as you sit with this silence, they are sitting with one too. Inside their silence, your name is alive. The memory of how it felt to be near them, to be truly known by them, you to feel seen in the way only they made you feel seen. All of it is still moving beneath the surface of everything. The silence isn't separation, it is proximity without words, and that is one of the most significant things you can understand about where you both are right now. The fourth thing happening right now is that there is unfinished emotional truth between you. Something that was deeply felt but never fully spoken. Something that needed to be said but hasn't yet found its moment. Mutual silence, especially when it follows the kind of intensity you both experienced, is almost always a container for something unresolved. Psychology shows us that when two people in a meaningful bond go quiet at the same time, it is often because what needs to be said feels too large, too honest, or too vulnerable for the moment that was available. So instead of speaking it imperfectly, or at the wrong time, or in a way that might not hold everything it needs to hold, you both protected it. And that thing, whatever it is, the feeling that rose to the surface and then retreated, the sentence that almost became real, the truth that lives in the space between what you expressed and what you actually felt, is still there, still alive, still waiting. The silence is not the end of that truth. The silence is the space that truth is living in while it waits for its moment to finally breathe. The fifth thing, and this may be the one that shifts something in you, is that emotional connection does not require contact to remain alive. This is one of the most profound things psychology and neuroscience have revealed about deep human bonds. The part of you that recognized this person, that felt strangely at home in their presence, that opened in ways it rarely opens for anyone. That let itself be seen with less armor than usual. That part does not simply go quiet because the messages stopped. Your nervous system still carries the memory of what they felt like. Your emotional body still holds the imprint of what it meant to be truly seen and felt by someone who understood you at a level most people never reached. When you find yourself thinking of them in unexpected moments, when their face arrives in your mind without invitation, when something small in your day pulls your attention toward them for no logical reason, that is not just imagination. That is your nervous system holding on to something it registered as real and profoundly significant. And the same thing is happening for them. What you both felt was not ordinary. And what is not ordinary does not quietly disappear just because two people went silent at the same time. Now here is what you deserve to hear, and to truly hear it, not just with your mind, but with the part of you that has been quietly questioning itself through all of this. You deserve a love that does not ask you to silence your own heart in order to feel safe. You deserve a connection where your uncertainty is met with patience, where your vulnerability is held with tenderness, and where your depth is never treated as too much to carry. Your worth is not determined by whether this person breaks the silence first. Your worth is not attached to their response, their next move, or what they ultimately choose to do with what was real between you. Your worth was never in question inside this silence. You were not the problem. The way you felt, deeply, honestly, with your whole heart open and present, that was never your flaw. That was your gift. That was the fullest, truest version of you showing up for something real and allowing yourself to feel it without reservation or apology. Your feelings were never too much. Loving this way was never your mistake. And the silence you are living right now says nothing about your value. It says everything about how real this was for you. You were always worth being chosen, fully and without hesitation. You still are. If this resonated with something real in you, if you recognized yourself in any of these 5 things, if something here landed in a place that felt true and necessary, hit that like button and join the Psychology Wisdom family. Subscribe so the next insight finds you before you even knew you were searching for it. You don't have to carry this quietly by yourself. We are right here, walking this with you.